Hello friends, I am Divya. So, presenting you another chapter from Science and Technology, Space Technology. Okay. So, please subscribe Vaishya's channel, make others subscribe, share these videos as much as you can, right? And support this channel, like these videos, okay? And if the response will be good, these will be available to you freely, okay, in the YouTube. So, space technology is very important chapter. I mean, it's a very important subject and it is very diverse also. I mean, it's very vast also. So there was a question in 2019 based on space technology. The question was, for the measurement or estimation of which of the following are satellite images or remote sensing data is used. Right? Options were chloroform content in the vegetation of a specific location, greenhouse gas emission from rice paddies of a specific location, then land surface temperatures of a specific location, right? So this is application based question, right? So the option were A 1 only, B 2 and 3 only, C 3 only, and D all of the above, that is 1 2 3. So this is application based question. I told already. Answer was D, means all of the above, right? There is another question. This appeared in 2018. So with reference to India's satellite launching vehicles, consider the following statements. PSLVs launch the satellite useful for Earth resource monitoring, whereas GSLV are designed mainly to launch communication satellites. Okay. Second was satellites launched by PSLV appear to remain permanently fixed in the same position in the sky as viewed from particular location on Earth. And the third one was GSLV Mark II is a 4-stage launching vehicle with the first and third stages using solid rocket motors and the second and fourth stages using liquid rocket engines. So, which of these statements are correct? They are asking, right? Options were 1A, 1 only, B, 2 and 3, C, 1 and 2, and then D, 3 only. So, the answer was A, right? Answer was A, only 1 is right. So, we'll start with space technology. So, space technology has multi-dimensional role in human life, right? It caters to the everyday services. Example, weather forecasting, remote sensing, DTH, GPS system, and then astronomy and earth sciences, etc. Right? So, Indian Space Research Program, that is ISRP, right? So, Vikram Sarabhai was the pioneer of ISRP, and then another body is there, that is Indian National Committee for Space Research, that is INCOSPAR. And then we have Department of Science. It is a nodal agency for space activities in India and have other features also, right? Then we have Antrix, the commercial one. So it is the commercial wing of ISRO. It helps in promotion and commercialization of space products, technical consultancy services, and transfer of technology developed by ISRO, right? Then a new body was formed. This is New Space India Limited Council, NSIL, right? So we will know different types of satellite orbits, right? What are they? So first of all, we have to know what an orbit is. So this is sun, okay? And then there is another planet, okay? So this planet has to revolve around sun. So it will follow some path. So that path will be, right? Yeah, here sun, then there is another planet. Here, this is the planet. Then it will follow some path. So this path is called orbit, right? This is mostly circular. So this path is orbit, right? We will see the pictures. Then we will understand it properly. Okay. So different types of satellite orbits. Okay. So a satellite may orbit around Earth in different planes, right? And based on that, based on that, they are classified into equatorial orbit, right, which the orbit that is directly above the Earth's equator are called equatorial orbit. Then polar orbit that passes over both the poles. Okay, so here is our Earth. So orbit will be like this. It will be passing through the poles, both the poles, that will be polar. And then there is inclined orbit. Okay, then orbits may be circular, okay, or elliptical based on the shapes. These are based on the shapes, either circular or elliptical. And based on the altitude, these orbits are classified into geostationary earth orbit, GEO, then medium earth orbit, and then low earth orbit. Okay, we'll see all this one by one and we'll understand. Okay, first of all was polar orbit, right? So here we can see polar. Okay, it passes through both the poles. And then we have equatorial. It is passing through the, it is above the equator. Okay, equatorial. And then we had and then we had inclined. See, this is inclined. Here is our equator, so it is inclined. Okay, this is the inclination, so inclined orbit, right? And then we also discussed circular and elliptical. So this is the elliptical one and this is the circular orbit, right? Then we will discuss based on the altitude. Okay, these were low earth orbit, medium earth orbit, and then geostationary earth orbit. Okay, so these were based upon the altitude. Altitude means distance. So what we have to remember here is distance, that is 52,000 kilometers for low earth orbit, and these are often polar orbit. Okay, so it will be like this, and distance will be 52,000 kilometers. And you have to remember period also, at least roughly remember it as 90 minutes. How much? 90 minutes. Okay, for the low earth orbit. Then for medium earth orbit, what you have to remember is this, that is 5,000 to 12,000 kilometers, right? So since it is medium earth orbit, means it will be positioned somewhere between low earth orbit and geostationary earth orbit. Okay, altitude is this much, 5,000 to 12,000 kilometers above the earth surface, and it is inclined over equatorial plane. Okay, so far there have not been many satellites in this orbit. Okay, so this much is enough. This we have to remember, that's it. Then we have geostationary. These are very popular type. Okay, and mostly communication satellites are used. So with the geostationary, always remember communication satellites. Okay, communication satellites, remember this always. Then if the orbital period, I'll read this, but I'll tell you which one is important, that only you have to remember. So if the orbital period of satellite exactly matches the orbital period of Earth, okay, means the same time, and altitude will be 35,863 kilometers above the Earth surface, and rotate in the equatorial plane of the Earth with angular velocity this much. Okay, 3075 meter per second. It will be called geosynchronous orbit. So what are they saying? The orbital period should be same as the Earth, that is 23 minutes 56 seconds. Okay, it should be like that, exactly that much. Then altitude should be 35,600 kilometers. Okay, so it should be this much farther away. Okay, 35,000. Then and angular velocity should be 3075 meters per second. Then it will be geosynchronous orbit, because the speed, orbital speed has synced with Earth's speed. Okay, then when the inclination and eccentricity, we will know what inclination and eccentricity clearly, okay, later, of the orbit is 0, then the satellite appears to be stationary to an observer on the Earth. Thus the orbit is geostationary orbit. Okay, so we will see through picture, we will understand it very clearly. Here low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, and then geostationary Earth orbit, and also high Earth orbit. So we have to focus on here, it is based upon the altitude, right? So as I told, low Earth orbit is mostly, often they are polar. Okay, so and the distance will be mostly 500 to 1500, right? So it will be nearer to the Earth. Okay, Then we had MEO. Okay, MEO will be between geostationary, geosynchronous orbit, and then between low Earth orbit. Okay, so it is somewhere here middle, 5,000 to 12,000 kilometers. And then what we had geosynchronous or geostationary. So its orbital speed, right? It orbital speed. Wait, here I'll show. Yeah, it's not orbital speed, orbital period. Okay, orbital period will be, it will be synced to Earth. Okay, it will be around Earth only, exactly same as the Earth only, which is 23 hours, 23 hours around 56 minutes. Okay, then it will be with sync to Earth. So it will, whenever we will see it from whichever point we'll see, it will appear to stationary, because its orbital period has been synced with the Earth. Okay, so that is what is it is saying. Okay, so one more thing what we had to remember is inclination and eccentricity, that we will see in the later one. And here one more thing we had to discuss is high Earth orbit. Okay, high Earth orbit will look something like this. It will be mainly used as transfer orbit. Okay, transfer orbit we will see in further detail later. Okay, so basically remember, this is how HEO looks like. It is basically to transfer. Okay, transfer any spacecraft like that. Okay, so this here it is, they have explained what eccentricity and inclination is. So in the previous slide we discussed, if the eccentricity and inclination is 0, right, for any geosynchronous, then it will become geostationary. For geosynchronous orbit, if the inclination and eccentricity becomes 0, it will become geostationary orbit. Okay, so in eccentricity is the deviation from perfect circle. Here we can see the deviation, right? We are seeing the deviation, so eccentricity is increasing. So eccentricity should become 0. Then inclination, as you can see, it is, this is the our what is it, equator. Okay, so this much is the inclination it is showing. Okay, so that is our inclination. If this also becomes 0, then it will be geostationary orbit, right? I hope you have understood. If you have not, please rewind the video, you will definitely understand this, right? Then different types of satellite orbits, right? So HEO was left to discuss. Okay, so these those satellites or space missions which need to send across the Earth's orbit, it should be sent beyond Earth's orbit, right? Beyond Earth's orbit, then we use HEO, that is high Earth orbit. That's why it was shown like this, right? So for example, we have used this for Chandrayaan, because we have to send it to moon. Chandrayaan 1, 2, 3. Then Mangalyaan, we have to send it to Mars. And then we will be using this for Aditya mission, Aditya L1 mission, right? So remember this. Then LEO are mostly polar, right? And then MEO are mostly inclined or transitional. Okay, we have seen what inclined is. Then GEO satellites are at mostly equatorial. They are mostly equatorial. Okay, like this. Fine. Then polar versus polar sun synchronous orbit. Okay, so because of the planetary movements of the sun and the earth, the position keeps changing. So the satellites see the shadow of the sun on the earth's surface. That's why only for a certain time period this satellite is in front of the sun, and polar satellite cannot be used always, right, to take the images of the earth's surface. That's why to rectify this, we have polar sun synchronous orbit, right, where the revolution of the satellite is always in front of the sun. In this orbit, satellite appears to follow the path of the sun. Okay, that's why sun synchronous is the name. So it is also called dawn to dusk orbit. Okay, so because we need to click the pictures, illumination should be there. So for that, it has to be synchronized with the sun. That's why sun synchronous, and it is mostly polar. Okay, it is polar only. So generally sun synchronous are middle or low earth orbits, right? Example is RadarSat, which is a Canadian satellite. So okay, so it is placed in low sun synchronous orbit, right? Then we have transfer orbit. So transfer means the name suggests it has to be transferred, right? So it is the intermediate orbit in which a satellite is released, and from here the satellite will be subsequently lifted by making noise of its propulsion system. Okay, so this right now uh, um, a satellite is placed in this orbit, but we have to it has to traverse some other path. It has to go somewhere else. So in order to do that, first it will be this aircraft will be kept here. No, sorry, not aircraft, satellite, right? So this satellite will be kept here, then it will traverse some path. Okay, this will and here it will become transfer orbit, then it will come to another orbit. Okay, so till then it will be in transfer orbit. So through the pictures it will be very clearly shown to you. Okay, don't worry, you will understand it very properly. Then we have GPS orbit or semi synchronous orbit. Elliptical orbit, okay, altitude this much, okay, 5000 to 1200, sorry, 12,000, 5,000 to 12,000 kilometers. It is used for navigation purpose. Okay, so a constellation of means a bunch of satellites. So around 24 to 36 satellites in MEO, medium earth orbit, either in inclined position or transitional position are utilized for navigation. Okay, so it is used in GPS, we popularly known as global positioning system, which is GPS. Okay, so mostly it is used like that. So it is called GPS orbit or semi synchronous orbit. Okay, it is elliptical in shape, remember this also, right? Examples are Navstar and GLONASS. It is very famous. Okay, so again, polar sun synchronous orbit. So this is how it looks, right? Here it is polar. So this is how it looks, and it is synchronous to sun. Okay, next moving on. Transitional orbit, this we didn't discuss. Transitional, we can see transition. Okay, something has to be transitioned. So in order to go from one circular orbit to another circular orbit, right, from here to it has to enter here. Okay, wait, from here it has to enter here. So in order to do that, in order to make that transition, it will use this orbit. This is called transitional orbit. Okay, so the transitional orbit is elliptical. By speeding up at the starting orbit, you break the requirement for circular motion. Okay, moving ahead, see here, according to this is LEO. Okay, this is low earth orbit. This is our geostationary earth orbit, GEO, and somewhere here, yeah, MEO. This this is MEO. Okay, medium. So GEO, MEO, and LEO here. So here International Space Station is located. Okay, and then Hubble telescope is also located in low earth orbit. And then Iridium is also located here. And then we have GPS I have already told, it is in middle. Okay, medium earth orbit. Then GLONASS is also, this is also for GPS only. So a medium earth orbit. Compass is also placed here. And then in geostationary orbit, which are far away, right? Then halo orbit. See, this is a very novel one. So all you have to remember is here that it is based on the gravitational, okay, gravitation. So there is a specific type of solar orbit. Okay, this halo one is specific type of gravitational orbit. Okay, it is a stable point between earth and the sun. Okay, and these points are called Lagrange. Okay, these are called L1, L2, which you are seeing, those are the Lagrange points. So these are the points where the combined gravitational force of two large bodies, that is our sun and our planet, right, are equal, and it is equal to the centrifugal force. Okay, and this is felt by third body. See, we will discuss it later also, but one thing we have to know is when a when some satellite, is there, and it is revolving around, suppose, earth. So it is not falling towards the, yeah, it is not falling towards the earth because two forces are acting on it. First is the gravitational force from the earth, but the another one is its centripetal force. Okay, so that is also working. Okay, so that centrifugal force is felt by third body, okay, which is relatively smaller. So the application is in Aditya L1 mission. So in the Aditya L1 mission we will discuss it further. So till now we have to remember gravitational stable point between earth and the sun. Okay, so that such is the orbit. Moving ahead, geosynchronous orbits. Okay, so here they have shown what is the difference between geosynchronous and geostationary. So we are seeing this is our geostationary. Okay, but one difference is the geostationary, right? Geostationary will be always above the equator like this. Okay, this is our geostationary. But geosynchronous need not be like this. It can be like yeah, it can be inclined also, right? So this much inclination can also be there. So every geostationary orbit is a geosynchronous orbit, but not the other way round. Okay, so angle of inclination will be there. Okay, I hope you have understood. Geostationary means it is above the equator. Okay, and geosynchronous need not be above the equator. There can be inclination also, right? Then geostationary transfer orbit, or GTO. So with the transfer we can understand something has to be transferred. So what it will be? Mostly satellite, right? So the elliptical orbit with apogee. Apogee, here we can see what is apogee. Apogee means the farther distance, and perigee means the nearer distance. Okay, so apogee and perigee. So here they are saying it is the elliptical orbit with apogee. This is the earth's, okay, 35,784 kilometers, and inclination roughly equal to the latitude of the launch site into which a spacecraft is initially placed before being transferred to geosynchronous or geostationary stationary orbit. So here it has been launched. Now it has to be transferred to this orbit. So for that, first it will traverse this path, and then later it will come to this orbit. Okay, first here it will come to here, and then it will transfer to here, right? So that's how it will be, right? So this thing which I was telling you earlier, why satellites do not fall down. Okay, when earth's gravity, okay, if earth's gravity here, if earth's gravity pull everything towards earth, then why satellites are staying up there and not falling on the towards the earth? So we have centrifugal force here, and then gravitational force. So the gravitational force is working here, and then we have centrifugal force here. Okay, it is because of the velocity of the satellite, right? So a satellite has a velocity that is keeping it away from the earth. The velocity will persist for very long time. Okay, and there is practically no drag. Drag means that the gravitational pull, something like that, won't be there in the space. There will be no drag. Okay, and then gravitational pull will be there, okay, which will pull it towards the earth. But to counter that, we have centrifugal force, or the because of the velocity of the satellite, right? If the velocity and the gravitational force are in the right amount and direction, the satellite will orbit, and it will neither fall towards the earth nor it will keep going further away. Okay, it will stay in its orbit. That's all it is they are trying to say. Okay, the satellite and the other objects orbiting with it will float as they are affected by centrifugal force, which will countering the gravitational force. Hope you understood. Still I will tell you again, there is gravitational force working, but to counter that we have centrifugal force. Okay, and then because of the velocity, so here it is given satellite velocity. Okay, it is equal to the gravitational pull of the earth. That's why satellites are not falling down, right? Then launch vehicle technology, right? We have completed types of orbits there. Now we will see the how launching of these vehicles happen. Okay, what are the vehicles that launch those satellites, right? So launch vehicles, the combination of thrusters and boosters. Why we need boosters and thrusters? So that it will give the pull. Okay, something has to go up, right? So so this will be accomplished by, it will be done by thrusters and boosters. So then only it will go up. Okay, propel. So that helps in carrying the spacecraft to space, and it is known as launch vehicles. Okay, the combination of thrusters and boosters. The designing and development of launch vehicle is taken in Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, VSCC. It is in Trivandrum, Thiruvananthapuram. Okay. Then the liquid and cryogenic stages. This is very important. For these launch vehicles are developed in Liquid Propulsion System Center. This is in Valiamala. And then ISRO Propulsion Complex, Mahendragiri. And then Satish Dhawan Space Center, it is responsible for the integration of launchers. Okay, mostly we see launchings through here only, Satish Dhawan Space Center, right? So here we have Satish Dhawan Space Center. It is in Sriharikota, Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so these are the launch vehicles. Okay, first one is sounding rocket. So sounding rocket, sounding means to measure. Okay, so these are mostly used for research. These are called research rocket. Okay, so these are instruments carrying the rocket. It is designed to make measurements. Okay, to measure and perform scientific experiments during its suborbital flight. Okay, so mainly for research purposes and measurement it is used. These are called sounding rockets. The first rocket launched by ISRO was a sounding rocket. It was imported. Okay, it was imported from Russia during 1960s. And then this marked the beginning of Indian space program. Okay, and then from 1965, ISRO started launching its own sound rockets, and in 1975 all these activities were considered under one roof and came to be known as Rohini Sounding Rocket Program. Okay, that's how we started developing. And then India has developed 4 generation of launching vehicle technologies. First generation is satellite launching vehicle, SLV. Second generation is augmented satellite launching vehicle, ASLV. Third one, PSLV, that is polar satellite launching vehicles. And fourth generation is GSLV, geostationary satellite launching vehicle, right? So these are Rohini, these are sounding. So Rohini sounding rocket program. So this is Rohini family, we can see here. So we can say these are kind of primitive ones. Now satellite launching vehicle technology. So the first generation was satellite launching vehicle. So it is 4 stage. What you have to remember is 4 stage. Okay, and all solid propellant. Propellant means the fuel and the oxidizer. Okay, here there's something that helps to it to go up, that is called propellant. Okay, so these propellants were solid earlier. Okay, in the first generation it was all solid. Payload means the spacecraft that in the satellite which is kept here, no, which has to be delivered to the space, that is called the payload. Okay, so payload, how much it could take? It could that time it was 40 kgs and distance 400 kilometers. 400 kilometers we know low earth orbit, right? And then SLV3 was the first in this generation, which was successfully launched on 18 July 1980, right? So SLV3 was the first one which was successful from Sriharikota High Altitude Range, SHAR. Okay, it successfully placed Rohini satellite RS-1 in its orbit, and the project was headed by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And now SLV is not in use. Okay, then we had second generation augmented satellite launching vehicle. So it was designed to augment, okay, to help Okay, to augment the, mean to further increase the payload capacity, right? So payload capacity increase means this one increase means the weight. Okay, earlier it was 40 kgs, now it has increased to 150, and same in low earth orbit only. Okay, so it was 5 stage, earlier it was 4 stage, now it became 5 stage. It also had all solid propellant. Okay, and this is also retired now, as ASLV is also retired now. Now we have PSLV. Okay, we mostly hear about PSLV, GSLV, mostly we hear about this only, right? So the Polar Satellite Launching Vehicle, this is the third generation launch vehicle. Okay, so the first Indian launch vehicle to be equipped with liquid stages. Earlier we saw only solid fuel they were using. Okay, solid propellants they were using. Now they are using in this liquid stages. So the first time in India in PSLV it was used, right? So the first successful launch was in 1994. PSLV emerged as a reliable and versatile workhouse launch vehicle of India. So workhouse, remember this. Okay, it was very reliable. Then this vehicle successfully launched two spacecraft, that is Chandrayaan 1 in 2008, and then Mars Orbiter spacecraft, that is MOM, okay, Mangalyaan in 2013, and then later traveled to Moon and Mars. I mean this for Moon, Chandrayaan for Moon, and then MOM for Mars, right? So these are some specifications. What we have to remember here is height. The height is 44, diameter. We have to remember the stages. Stages are 4 stages. Okay, and this much is the lift of mass, that is 320 tons. Earlier it was 40, right? We can see here it was 40, then it became 150 kgs. Now it has come to tons. Okay, and then variants, there are 3 variants: PSLV G, PSLV CA, and then PSLV XL. Okay, the first flight was in September 20, 1993, right? Stages are 4, remember this. Then liquid propellant was first time used in PSLV. Then payload to sub geostationary transfer, geosynchronous transfer orbit. Okay, so PSLV has been used to launch various satellites into geosynchronous and geostationary orbits. Okay, earlier we saw only in low earth orbit, now they are sending it to geosynchronous and geostationary orbits. Okay, so satellites like IRNSS, Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System. Okay, so these constellation of satellites they have sent through PSLV. We will read it from here. Okay, below, because it starts from near here only. We'll see the next slide first. Here, no, what we have to remember the components like this. First is strap-on motors. Okay, strap-on motors, because the push is required, so that push is given by these motors. Okay, this uses solid fuel, and there are 6 yeah, there are 6 strap-on motors. This you have to remember. I didn't draw all the 6, I could not. So but to make you understand, there were 6 strap-on motors, remember this. And then the first stage, it has 4 stages as discussed. PS1, the first stage was had solid fuel. Okay, solid fuel. And then second one had liquid fuel, and then it was solid, and then it became liquid. So remember it as SLSL. Okay, solid for first stage solid, then become liquid, then became solid, then it was liquid, right? Then engine was Vikas. Vikas here means Vikram Ambalal Sarabhai. Okay, so Vikram Sarabhai, Vikas engine. Okay, but the fuel was liquid. Okay, so this much you have to remember. And payload, as you know, this will be the satellite which has to be launched into the, which has to be delivered into the space, which has to be which will be orbiting there. Okay, in the space. So that will be the payload. Okay, we'll see here now. So first was strap-on motors. So 6 solid rocket strap-on motors to augment the thrust. Okay, provided by the first stage. Then first stage of the PSLV uses S139 solid rocket motor, that is augmented by 6 strap-on motors. Okay, then second stage had it uses earth storable means it can be stored in earth. Liquid rocket engine, okay, liquid rocket engine, right? The second stage is liquid. And it had Vikas engine, and it was developed by Liquid Propulsion System Center, okay, Liquid Propulsion System Center. The third stage, third stage again we had solid, right? So solid rocket motor that provides the upper stages in high thrust, right? Because it needs high thrust, because it has to overcome the it has to go through the atmosphere. That's why high thrust, okay, and it has to escape the gravity also, right? So high thrust after the atmospheric phases of the launch, okay, so that's why. Then fourth stage, it is the uppermost stage of the PSLV. It comprises two earth storageable liquid engines. Okay, again liquid. Fine. And then what we have? We have payload. Okay, payload is our satellite. Fine. And then propellant. What are those propellant? Propellant is actually the mixture of fuel and oxidizer. Oxidizer, why do we need oxidizer? In order to burning, right? One of the component, one of the important essential is oxygen, okay, so provide that we need oxidizer, okay. The variants of PSLV: PSLV G, PSLV CA, okay, and then PSLV XL. And it is PSLV is also called the workhorse of ISRO, okay. And recently PSLV has launched this Amazonia. It is a Brazilian satellite. Then PSLV C50, okay, and then PSLV C49, okay. So this we have already discussed, right? Payload, then strap-on motor 6. So solid fuel in the first stage, second stage liquid fuel when Vikas engine, third stage again solid, okay, and then fourth stage liquid fuel, right? And then payload. Now we will move to geostationary satellite launching vehicle, GSLV, okay. Here what we have to remember is, we have to remember the differences. Earlier we had 4 stages, now we have reduced it to 3, okay, right? So this we have to remember, the difference we have to remember between PSLV and GSLV. So geosynchronous satellite launching vehicle Mark 2, okay, GSLV Mark 2 we are talking about, is the largest launch vehicle developed by India, which is currently in the operation. So this is 4th generation, okay, this is 4th generation, okay, vehicle, and it is 3 stage, right? And it has 4 liquid strap-ons. Earlier what we saw 6, okay, we saw 6 solid motors here. 6 we saw strap-on motors. Now we have 4 liquid strap-on, okay, these are called boosters also, fine. And then indigenously developed cryogenic upper stage, okay, and which is flight proven, forms the third stage of GSLV Mark II. From January 2014, the vehicle has achieved 4 consecutive successes, okay. We'll see now. Here again, first I'll show this. So 4 strap-on boosters, okay, and then 1 Vikas engine here. Then the first stage and the second stage will be similar to PSLV only, okay. It will use the solid one in the first stage and then liquid engine, and here again liquid fuel, first solid and then liquid. But the third stage will be entirely different. Third stage we will have cryogenic engine, okay, and the fuel will also be liquid. And then we have payload, right? So we'll see here. So strap-on motors, okay, or the boosters. So the 4 liquid engine strap-on are used in GSLV. They are higher derivatives of PSLV, means they are heavier than PSLV, okay, and it use 1 Vikas engine each, okay. Then in the first stage, that is GS1. Earlier we had PS1. Here it is GS1. 138 ton, okay, 138 ton solid rocket motor. In that one also it was same, but it was augmented by 6 strap-on motors, right? And here it is 4, okay, 4 liquid strap-ons. Then in the second stage also was similar to that. It will use liquid air. Okay. Okay, fine. So the second stage will be similar to PSLV and it will have one Vikas engine. But the third stage will be entirely different from PSLV. Here we will have our indigenously developed cryogenic upper stage project, cryogenic upper stage. Okay. So this CE cryogenic 7.5 CE 7.5 is India's first cryogenic engine and it was developed by Liquid Propulsion System Center. Okay, this you have to remember. Please remember this. Okay, CE dash 7.5. Okay, then further GSLV's capability of placing 5 tons. Okay, now it has become 5 tons in low Earth orbits and then and then heavy satellites to multiple smaller orbits satellites. Okay, and from heavy to multiple smaller satellites also it can place in the low Earth orbits, right? And then GSLV, yeah, then GSLV primary loads are INSAT class satellites. Okay, INSAT class communication satellites. So with geosynchronous and GSLV, remember communication satellites. Okay, always remember this, that operate geostationary, that operate from geostationary orbit and hence are placed in geosynchronous transfer orbit. Okay, it can be placed into geosynchronous transfer orbit. Okay, and then GSLV is a 3-stage. Remember, 3-stage, where 2 stages are similar to PSLV with same solid and liquid natures of the fuel, but the third one is completely different, that is a cryogenic stage. Okay, already I have discussed, right? So the cryogenic engine, what is it? Cryogenic is a low temperature based technology. Okay, in this the propellant in this propellant system has liquid hydrogen, which is the fuel, and then liquid oxygen, it is used as an oxidizer. Okay, then we have Bahubali rocket, that is a GSLV Mark 3. Okay, so this is very popular, right? So Mark 3 GSLV Mark 3 is chosen to launch Chandrayaan 2 spacecraft, right? It is also 3-stage, right? Because it is GSLV, so it is 3-stage. Okay, 3-stage heavy lift launch vehicle. Okay, that's why we have given Bahubali name, or it has also been given the name of Fat Boy, right? So the vehicle has 2 solid strap-ons. Earlier we had 4, right? Now it has reduced to 2. Then a core liquid booster and a cryogenic upper stage. Okay. So GSLV Mark III is designed to carry 4-ton class of satellites into GTO, that is geosynchronous transfer orbit. Okay, or either 4-ton class of satellite in GTO or 10 tons in low Earth orbit. Okay, which is twice the capability of GSLV Mark II. Okay, so Mark III is an improvement on Mark II, right? And then 2 strap-on motors. Okay, remember this, are located on either side of its core liquid booster. Fine. The first experimental flight of LVM3, okay, which is LVM3X CARE. Okay, remember this CARE mission, lifted off from Sriharikota on December 18, 2014 and successfully tested the atmospheric phases of flight. This crew module atmospheric re-entry experiment was also carried out in this flight. The module re-entered, deployed its parachutes as planned and splashed down in the Bay of Bengal. It is important. It is important for Gaganyaan. See, what is this CARE or crew model atmospheric re-entry? See, when we talk about Gaganyaan, we have to bring the spacecraft along with our astronauts. We are sending astronauts to the space, right? Now those astronauts have to come back to Earth, right? And they have to pass through the atmosphere. So we know our atmosphere has high temperature. There is a thermosphere also. So to withstand that heat, right? The spacecraft should withstand that heat also. That then only our astronauts can come back safely to the Earth, right? So that's why we need this crew module atmospheric re-entry. Okay, so this is called re-entry experiment. This is called CARE. Okay, so this was also tested by GSLV Mark III, right? So this was successful also. So the first developmental flight of GSLV Mark III, that was GSLV Mark III D1 was successfully placed GSAT 19 satellite, okay, to geosynchronous transfer orbit on June 5, 2017 from Sriharikota, right? Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. Then there was earlier here was D1, here is D2, right? GSLV Mark III D2. It was the second developmental flight of GSLV Mark III. It also successfully launched GSAT 29. It is a high throughput communication satellite, right? Date was November 14, 2018. Again from Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. And then GSLV Mark III M1. Okay, this successfully injected Chandrayaan 2. Remember this? For Chandrayaan 2, it is GSLV Mark III. Okay, so it is the second lunar mission into Earth parking orbit. Okay, on July 22nd, 2019 from again Satish Dhawan Space Center. Right? Hope you will remember. Remember the stages? 3 stages, 640, more than 6 tons. Okay, and then Bahubali rocket. Okay, India's monster rocket. Fine. So this is how it looks, right? Our GSLV Mark III Bahubali rocket. Fine. So these, see, we have, this is the evolution of our launching vehicles. ISRO's launching vehicle. SLV, first was SLV-3. Then ASLV, Augmented Satellite Launching Vehicle. Then we had PSLV XL. Okay, remember this. Earlier we had low Earth orbit, 40 kg. Then it increased to 150 low Earth orbit. And propellants were all solid here. Propellants were solid there. Here also solid, but here solid and liquid in PSLV. Okay, and then payload also increased to 1860, and then it was transferred to sun synchronous polar orbit also and geosynchronous transfer orbit also, right? Here geosynchronous transfer orbit, sun synchronous polar orbit, and then here, and then GSLV Mark II, right? Solid, liquid and cryogenic. Okay, first time cryogenic here, and payload mass increased to 2020 kgs, and then orbit was geosynchronous transfer orbit, right? And then our Bahubali rocket, that is GSLV Mark III, right? Payload 4000 kg. Okay, and then, so I'm sorry, 4000 kg, and then orbit was geosynchronous transfer orbit and solid, liquid and cryogenic, right? So yeah, now we have reusable launch vehicle technology. Okay, reusable launch vehicle technology demonstration program. See, this is, hope you will understand with this picture. We are sending our rocket. Okay, here it is coming here down, so it is getting wasted. So what if we use it again here? So here this is the ascent phase. Okay, it is the ascending, but later it has to descend. So in order to minimize the reusable, reusable, the name itself is suggesting that we can use this launch vehicle. So in order to use it again, we have done one experiment. Okay, and this was found to be successful. We will read it now. Yeah, reusable launch vehicle technology demonstration program, right? So developing this technology, okay, this program, that is reusable launch vehicle technology demonstration program, was a challenging endeavor of ISRO. Okay, it was very challenging how to reuse this, right? So but it has been achieved by India now. India has been successful in doing this. So reusable launch vehicle technology, it will minimize the cost of various space missions. Okay, because we can use it again. Okay, we will be using this part again. So it was successfully tested in May 2016 for its autonomous navigation, reusable thermal protection because it has to enter the atmosphere and it has to withstand that temperature, and then guidance and control, and then re-entry mission management. Okay, so with this we have completed our space. Okay, space technology. So please like Vaishya's channel. Okay, subscribe Vaishya's channel, like this video, share this as much as you can. Fine, we'll come with another one. So bye, keep reading.